Well, hello, everybody out there. So, my name is Dr. Randall Sampson, and welcome to today's episode for Capture-Curate-Share. So, Capture-Curate-Share is going to be a continuous series sponsored through the Kentucky Department of Education and our various co-ops throughout the great state of Kentucky. This session was supposed to be in person. However, unfortunately, we have to go remote for circumstances outside of our control. But it is great to see everybody out there. And this specific session is going to really dig down into this notion of culture. So what is culture? How do we use culture in our districts, in our schools, in our classrooms? As everybody knows, that culture is very important in any school district. So I am just so glad to be here today with the Northern Kentucky Co-op. Great folks. And I'm really excited to continue to work with the various co-ops across the great state of Kentucky. My old Kentucky home, as they say, where you always feel welcome and you feel like you belong. You don't have to fit in. You feel like you belong. It's just a natural fit. So our kiddos out there really have a great in those school districts in Kentucky. And so today we're going to really talk about that. So it's going to be very casual, and it's all about champion culture. So how do we build that champion culture? And as you see my shirt, champions love the process. So this is hard work. We don't want to minimize the work that teachers are doing. But what we want to do is we want to streamline and simplify some of the processes so you can do what you do best, which is engage kids. So we have to create a process that you would absolutely love because you are a champion. So champions love the process. It's never that teachers don't want to do the work. It's the processes are too complicated. And we have to have a culture that embraces everybody and brings everybody's strengths to the table. So with that said, we're going to get started today. And let me start the PowerPoint presentation here. And there we go. All right. So here's my PowerPoint presentation. We'll talk about the Kentucky culture. What does culture really look like, sound like, feel like in any school district, any classroom as we start going down this process. So like I said before, I'm part of this personalized learning series for Kentucky educators. And I'm just grateful that the Northern Kentucky Co-op was able to help sponsor this with Kentucky Department of Education. And we'll continue this series in person. And there's also going to be a video series as well that goes with this. So we're going to dig deeper. After this series of me, we really want to engage Kentucky educators. So we are going to have some Kentucky educators on as well to talk about their practices and their best practices and what's happening in their buildings, in their districts, and how they function. So this is going to be a collective effort. So that way we can see the true value of our educational system. And like I said, today we're going to talk about culture. So culture, the ability to capture, curate, and share that culture. That's the most important part, because sometimes as time goes, we forget about what the culture actually is, what it looked like, what it sounds like, what it feels like. And sometimes we romanticize the past years of how good it was. And nobody ever talks about the struggles, the pain, the process that you went through to get to that good stuff. So we just remember the good stuff, but there's a lot of process that goes into that. So we have to capture that process in real time and then curate it, put it all together into a vivid story that others can see in real time, and then share it out using our various social media, digital mediums to share out with our students, staff, community members, parents, and the greater stakeholders in our community. So one of the things that we talk about with culture, so what is culture? So let's get a clear definition about what I'm going to talk about when we say culture. So in schools, the culture that we want to produce is exponential growth. How do we grow every kid, regardless of where you come from, how tall you are, how short you are, what your zip code is, what your address is, what part of the state you live in, what district you reside in, or what school you reside in, or what teacher you have. The culture of exponential growth, where each kid feels like they belong and they want to grow to their fullest potential. And with that, I have these three components for the culture. So it's a personalized growth of your people. So your people include students, staff, family members, community. So how do we create a personalized growth where it's not just grow the way we tell you to grow, but you find out what it is that makes you tick, and how do we help provide you with the resources to grow as a human being, as an individual, and then having this excitement about your dynamic process. So showing up every single day with your hair on fire, that's a good thing because you are excited. You get out of bed, you're ready to go. The kids can feel your energy. As a superintendent, the staff can feel your energy. The board members can feel your energy. Everybody's excited about a dynamic process because it's very, very clear. So you have to have clarity about the organization's vision and mission. So clarity is very important. So I have this book called Welcome to the Grind. You can find all of that information inside of Welcome to the Grind, how educators achieve exponential results. Because that's what it all comes down to. How do we get to these exponential results? So these are the three processes broken down. I break them down into these three phases. So inside of these phases, you have aligned vision and mission, right? So everybody has a vision and mission statement, but is it really aligned, or is it just something that we put together, right? So does our vision and mission statement really align with who we are, where we're going, and what we truly believe? Because sometimes we put a mission and vision statement out there that's talking points or buzzwords versus what our community and our kids actually need. So we really have to be cognizant of that. And then the second phase is the let's go want to know phase. So every single day you wake up and you say, let's go 1-0. We have to go 1-0 this week. So think about that. Every single day, going 1-0, every single week, going 1-0. That's the process. That's the excitement that you bring to the table. So in any school, you got to think we have 9-week quarters and we have 4 quarters. So 36 weeks. Our goal is to go 1-0 each week for 36 weeks. If we can do that, our kids will definitely win. If we have that kind of growth mindset and attitude, our kids will definitely win. And then the last part is growth, right? How do we grow our people? How do we grow our kids? But most importantly, the one thing that we also neglect sometimes is how do we grow our adults in our profession? How do we grow each other? How do we grow our parents, help our parents grow? We don't want to dictate to parents what to do or what to say, but provide them with the tools that they need, the tools that they have identified that they need to help them grow. So that's the resources that we have to provide and the mindset that we have to have. And sometimes people pick up tools and they say, hey, I'm going to try this out. It doesn't work. Hey, it's all good. There's no judgment. There's no any bad feelings. So it's just about figuring out which tools work best for you. But the ultimate is this for me. I mean, this right here says it all for me. Culture eats strategy for breakfast. Think about that. So what does that mean? Culture eats strategy for breakfast. We have a tremendous amount of strategies, strategic plans in education, various tools, various things, things are aligned, misaligned, whatever it is, right? But if we don't have an accurate culture, regardless of what tools we provide, regardless of what vision and mission we provide, the culture will eat our strategy for breakfast. So we really have to make sure that we attend to our culture more so than we realize. So when we talk about culture, culture is your brand. Culture is who you are as a school, who you define yourself to be in your classroom, who you define yourself to be as a person. So culture is your personal brand. So when you think about McDonald's, their culture is hamburgers and French fries. For a while there, McDonald's said, we're going to get into the pizza business. Didn't work out very well. So they had to get back to what they do best, hamburgers and French fries. It defines who they are. So you have to have a clear brand, and that is your culture. That's who you are. But one of the things that I say in my book, Welcome to the Grind, is the culture defines who you are and how you prepare for pressure. So I would be lying to you out there if I said, oh, there's no pressure in schools. It's all just lollipops and cotton candy and bonbons. That's not true. There's lots of pressure, and it's all self-induced pressure because we want to give the very best for our kids every single day. So we put ourselves under a tremendous amount of pressure. Forget the standardized tests, forget the outside measurements. It's all about what happens inside of that classroom with your kiddos. And teachers put a lot of pressure on themselves, but when your culture is right, you are prepared for that pressure. So when we talk about the right culture, so 3/4 of millennials prefer experiences over things. They prefer the culture. I'm an 80s baby, grew up in the 80s and 90s, and it was all about things. The Billionaires Boys Club was the big movie. It was all about things and acquiring things. This generation of young teachers, kids, they prefer these exciting, rich learning experiences. It's not so much about things, but if you think about it, in education, we didn't get into education to make a whole bunch of money, to hoard a whole bunch of things, to go yacht clubbing and all that kind of stuff. As teachers, we are just, hey, how can we create a rich learning experience for all of our kiddos? And that's what it comes down to. And I think that's the true attitude in our education system. So phase one, this whole notion of vision and mission and aligning your vision and mission. Excuse me. So in phase one, we really talk about the vision and mission. So what is culture? So I really define culture under three components. So for me, culture comes down to personal beliefs up here on the top, team values, and academic behaviors. So beliefs, values, and academic behaviors. So let's talk about personal beliefs. So what do we really believe about our kids? So in your staff, in your district, in your school, when you start to create your culture and you tend to your culture, you have to have honest conversations. What do we really believe about our kids? Do we really believe our kids are capable of the academic rigor that's required of them? Do we really believe that we can help grow our kids? Do we really believe that our kids love being in our buildings? Do we really believe that we are the ones that have enough tools to help our kids? So those are the hard conversations as a staff, as a community, as a district that you have to have once you start talking about culture. What do we really believe about ourselves and our learning community? And then the second part is team values. So in our team values, we really talk about what do we value, because we all bring different values to the table. So we don't want to say everybody's values are the same, and they can't be, they won't be. Everybody comes from different moms and dads and families and communities, and we all come together into one building, into one school district, into one living community. From various places. But with that, we bring our own personal values. So we have to put that out on the table. Whatever my personal values are might not be and won't be the same as somebody else's. But once we enter our school district, once we enter the arena of our school, what will be the common values that will drive us? And what we find out is we have a lot more common values than we have different values. So what we want to do is we want to shine on those common values and get the kids included in those common values. And then we start to build a culture based off of those common values that we all bring to the table that we believe is important. So we really have to dig into that as a community once we start talking about culture. And the next part is behavior. So we often talk about what we believe. We often talk about what we value. But what are the academic behaviors that we aspire to have in our buildings? So what specific behaviors are we asking kiddos to really engage in? Do we have intervention times built into our classroom, into our district, into our school schedules? So intervention time means I have to go into an intervention classroom and I have specific behaviors that I have to adhere to so I can grow and get better. Do we have acceleration labs where kids go to specific locations to accelerate their learning? And those are the behaviors that we expect. In our classrooms, what behaviors do we ask kids to engage in? Do we have station rotations to where kids are working in small group? Or is it Socratic seminar? Is it big group lecture? Is it a mix? Is it a combination? So what are the academic behaviors that we are going to prescribe to as a learning community that will enhance the learning of kids? And when we talk about enhancing the learning of kids with academic behaviors, we're talking about the depth of knowledge. So we're going to go into depth of knowledge 1, 2, 3, or 4. And depth of knowledge 1 is basic understanding, and depth of knowledge 4 is all the way to the application and augmentation of learning. Application augmentation of learning, that's a mouthful. So basically, how do I take basic understanding, DOK1, convert it into something that applies to my life? So if I'm learning Pythagorean theorem, basic understanding, how does that convert into real world experiences through CTE at the construction field, at Intel, when we're talking about nanotechnology, at the national labs, when you go to Louisville and work at Kentucky Derby? How does the mathematics transfer to your actual job? So it's all of those things that we really have to dig into when we talk about academic behaviors. And that's all part of culture. And once we get the culture set, we have to capture, curate, and share the personal beliefs in action. We have to capture, curate, and share the value systems that we have in action. We have to capture, curate, and share the academic behaviors in action, or else it becomes just an exercise that we did 1 week, 1 month, 1 quarter, and it goes by the wayside because there's another initiative coming in. There's another IEP meeting, 504 meeting that we have to attend to. There's another crisis intervention meeting we have to attend to. There's another safety meeting we have to attend to. There's another food services meeting that we have to attend to. So the list goes on and on because schools are very busy and there are multiple things happening at the same time. But if we don't take the organized approach of capturing, curating, and sharing that learning experience, it all gets washed away and gets lost. And once we don't do that and take care of our culture, people are going to come back and say, hey, are you closing the gap? We want the gap closed. All you have to do, teachers, all you have to do is, people make it sound so simple. All you have to do is just these couple things, right? All you have to do is create fluency reps. All you have to do is create vocabulary acquisition. All you have to do is create inference skills for kids. Informational text, no problem. All you have to do is get every kid to algebra and physics, right? So once you do that, the gap will be closed. It sounds simple. It sounds easy. But we have to capture those academic behaviors along the way to make sure that we're getting to these academic points that we say we want to aspire to. And people often say, hey, we need more deeper learning. And we're like, yeah, deeper learning is definitely where it needs to be. But how are you getting there? So we have to capture, curate, and share those beliefs about deeper learning, those beliefs about team values. And once we do that, you can see the depth of knowledge and the depth of the learning occurring. And you can see this thoughtfulness and you can see this level of empathy that kids are starting to prescribe to inside of their culture. And I think that's where we want to be. And if you see the little heart right there, so that's basically what we want right here. We want kids to fall back in love with learning. So when we capture, curate, and share, we want the kiddos to fall back in love with learning. And you see the little heart, which is with the fingerprint. So the fingerprint represents that individual kid. Everybody has their own unique fingerprint. Everybody has a heart. A living human being has a heart that's in our school, right? So now you take the fingerprint and put it on that learner can put their fingerprint on their heart and feel like they really belong in our schools and feel like they really belong in our district. And the 3 components that we really want kiddos to feel in our culture is this authentic transcript. And we all have transcripts. We're used to transcripts, high school transcripts, cumulative folders and files and transcripts. But we want to have this authentic transcript. So what does it look like when a kid is in an interactive learning lab? Somebody captured the video of that. Somebody captured the picture. Somebody captured the process that we love so much. So that is an authentic transcript. And we'll talk a little bit more about that because that's what Capture-Curate-Share does. It provides schools with that ability to have that authentic transcript. And then the ability for kids to have amplified voice. Imagine that. So kids have voice in what they want. to learn. So you provide learning options, learning opportunities, even if it's station rotations, even when you have Socratic seminar, you provide kids with an opportunity to discuss, to debate, to interview each other, and to have a rich exchange of ideas so they can amplify their voice. And amplifying voice is not necessarily the person that talks the loudest, that shouts the loudest, but amplified voice is the thoughtfulness and the ability to communicate your thoughts with other people, and also the ability to listen. When you amplify, you also have to listen, right? So it's a two-way street that we teach kids. Nobody just shows up knowing all of this stuff. So we really have to teach kids how to do that and provide them with many opportunities to practice. And then the last part is this whole notion of belonging. So usually people say, hey, when you get to this new school, just try to fit in, be the best you can be. But that's what the research is saying. It's not necessarily about fitting in. Brene Brown has a really great quote out there that fitting in is about me becoming the person that you want me to be. Think about that. So fitting in, I have to adhere to the larger system or individual so I can be who they want me to be. But we want this whole notion of belonging. So in belonging, I am going to be me as genuinely as I can be, and I'm going to bring my strengths to the table, and I will be authentically. And when I say authentically, I will be authentically vulnerable to say, some of these things are not my strength. And then people inside of my community can accept me for my strengths and my vulnerable weaknesses. And then we start to figure out that my weaknesses might be somebody else's strength, and we lean on each other to get better. So that is the level of belonging that we're all looking for inside of a school, inside of our culture. But if we don't capture, curate, and share these moments and these opportunities, people will think that they don't exist. And even in our culture, people will just do things instinctively and automatically without thinking about it. But we're not capturing it to go back and take a look and say, hey, we did this really well. Let's try this again. Let's amplify this a little bit more. Let's create this inside of our authentic transcript. How do we provide a level of belonging for all kids? We notice that certain kids don't feel like they belong. How do we have that conversation with them to figure that out? So inside of culture and this deeper learning, thoughtfulness, and level of empathy, we need to know what it is. So the best thing that I did was I was at a conference. And so at the conference, I asked people. I was presenting at a conference. Imagine being at a conference and there's hundreds of people and they're in your session and everybody sits there like it's church on Sunday. They just nod their heads. I like to have the interactive conferences. And so I put together a slide deck and I used this thing called Wakelet to curate their responses. It's an interactive tool. And basically I just said, hey, describe the culture that you want. So I asked teachers, hey, here's your culture. What would be the culture that you want? And let's take a look at some of their responses real quick. I'm going to share this with you guys real quick. So let's go to share. And there we go. So this is really, really cool, where teachers were able to respond, or participants were able to respond as to what is the culture that they want. And so we use this tool called Wakelet, and this was in 2019. And basically I just said, what's the culture that you guys want? And teachers went in and they were able to add various links, and they were able to type in various phrases and sayings about what they believe their culture is. So now we were able to basically jigsaw the experience of every person inside of the meeting. So every person inside of the room. So think about your school district, your school, the ability to have every voice heard and people to participate and to communicate and to collaborate. This is a tool that we use to do that. So teachers were able to go in, they can find various phrases online, uh, various quotes that resonate with them, various links. And this is probably one of my favorite, right? And it's a classic. Kids don't care what you know until they know that you care. So this person says that this is our culture in our building. This is how we handle our business, and this is what we prescribe to. This is our prescription in our building. So it's stuff like this, and then the ability to go in and find different articles. And this is a neat one right here. Because I said I would. So that is part of their culture. Because I said I would. So promises made, promises kept. How do we make promises to each other as the adults in the building, as the kids in the building, from kids to adults, from adults to kids? We have to make these promises for a different value system, for a rich academic institution, for a place that we all feel like we belong. So that's what it comes down to. So it's really neat to see various people, and you could see the person's name would be attached to the document that they presented. Throwing kindness around like it's confetti. I love that. I love that. So if we can throw confetti around and have a great time with confetti, why can't we throw kindness like that every single day, every single moment in our schools, in our classrooms? So this is just a collection to show you guys real quick how you could leverage some of the great tools out there like Wakelet to really dig down into your culture to figure out what is this culture that we want, and what will that look like, and what will be the prescription for our culture. So with that said, culture seems to drive everything. And I'm gonna go back into the to the slide deck. So culture drives everything for us if we want to get into this level of empathy and deeper learning. So one of the things I tell people all the time is we'll be in sessions like this and you'll see people say, yes, culture drives it. Yes, it's really good. It's really great. The nodding head does not row the boat. So what's the specific action that we are going to take? Because everybody says, yes, culture is important, but we often struggle to implement culture. So how do we actually implement culture? And the previous slide that we just talked about is a great way to show that. Having people pull up archives about their thoughts and their experiences in their building and their value system. And now we have a collective value system that really paints a broader picture about who's in the room and what they value. So let's go into phase two. This is the excitement part, right? So we talk about aligning stuff. So now let's go do it. Let's go 1-0 this week. So everybody wants results yesterday. So if you look at this this quick little clip, I'll play it here in a second. It's about this collective efficacy. And as we all know, the Making Learning Visible data says collective efficacy has a really, 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 really big effect size. It's something like 1.5 or something. And effect size means you need about 0.044 to make a difference in the lives of kids. And collective teacher efficacy is a 1.5. So it's really big. It's really big. When teachers all say, we have this coherent culture, we're going to work together, we're going to do this, great results always happen. Sometimes we flub it and mess it up, but it's okay because teachers are resilient and we bounce back and we learn from it and we continue to grow from it. Sometimes embracing our failure in order to get to the next level is where it is. So just seeing that is where schools can really grow and amplify their learning, is through embracing a culture that has a collective efficacy. So for instance, in this clip, I'm going to set it up for you. So in this clip, what you'll see is we have this weekly benchmark performance series, this school does. And they use a product, digital product, where the kids take an assessment weekly just to kind of see where they are, how they did. And then what the school district does is they have a listing of all of the schools in the various regions in the district, and how well they did. And so what this school decided to do was they said, hey, we're going to take our data, our weekly performance data, and compare it to the rest of the district. And then we'll also compare it to other schools in the district just to kind of see where we are. So as we all know, comparison is not necessarily the greatest thing ever to compare to other people. But what they decided to do was we want to compare to ourselves. We want to benchmark against ourselves. How do we stack up each week with ourselves, whether we're in first, second, third, fourth, whatever it is? It gives us an opportunity to examine where can we get better, not necessarily to gloat or look down on other schools. So this was like a really great approach. And the yellow bar, if you can see the yellow bar right here with the red arrow. So the yellow bar is the district average for that week. And then the blue bars are all of the schools and their averages. And then the green bar is this specific school and their average. So they are second for the week in their mastery of the content on their benchmark in the entire district. So let's take a look. And the great thing about this is this teacher, we have multiple teachers who do this. So we have this breaking news series where every teacher takes a turn and they put together this breaking news. Then we put it out on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, send it out to parents and their emails, and the kiddos see it throughout the building. So we'll play this throughout the building on all the TVs throughout lunchtime as kids are moving in the hallways. So it becomes very clear about what it is that we're focusing on, because we all know eyeballs are on screens for kids, right? So anything that's on the screen, the kids will look at and view. So they view this multiple times throughout the school day.
Breaking news. Congratulations, East Linden, for coming in second place for our average of our iReady math lessons. We beat the regional average. We had 88% of our students passing all of their lessons with the region average of 84%. Congratulations, East Linden. Keep it up, guys.
Oh, that is so awesome. That is so awesome. So teachers do this like weekly. And, I don't get involved in it. The principal doesn't get involved in it. But it becomes the culture of what they all adhere to. And now it becomes very important for our kids to grow. They have to do well on their benchmarks, their weekly benchmark assessments to get better. And the kids are all into it. So now we have this change of culture where academics is very important. So the academic behaviors that we display in our classrooms have to drive the end of the week results. So the kids are all into it. They know every single day, if we do this academic behavior, we are going to get great results at the end. And we're going to see our video. Did we move up? Did we move down? If we move down, what can we do better? If we moved up, why did we move up? And how can we continue to do those things?
Breaking news.
So with that, everybody wants to see, oh, hey, you got to that final product. That is great. But what people don't understand is there's a process to that. And so we have this thing called POP, process over product, process over product. So how do we get better every week and create a rich process? And I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so you can see it. So process over product. What does this look like, sound like, feel like? So we have this thing called CHAMP in our culture. It's the CHAMP culture, champion culture, right? So how do we make this champion culture? So the C in CHAMP stands for connect. And so in our staff, in our faculty, we really, really focus on connecting with kids. How do we connect with our kiddos? How do we make this thing happen? And then honor. So what specific ways do we honor our kids? We don't just wait until the end of the year when we have award ceremonies, when certificates are being handed out, when we provide all the stuff and it's a feel-good moment at the end of the year. We have to honor kids throughout the year. So what does that look like? And then amplify. How do we help kids amplify their voice? How do we help our building amplify the culture that we're trying to provide? And then the next part is M for motivate and CHAMP, motivate. Do I get up every single day motivated with my hair on fire, ready to go? And that goes from the custodial staff to the teachers to the parents to the students to the principal to central office. Everybody has to come in with a motivation as to why we are here. And that leads us into the P part for CHAMP, purpose. What is our very specific purpose here? What is our life purpose? We have a calling to do the work that we're doing, but we also have to have a clear purpose that's going to be our guiding light. So what is our specific purpose here at our school? So once we define these components of CHAMP, then the acronym really comes to life. And this specific school down here at the bottom, as you can see, best U.S. News ranking in the country, number one in the country for, tied for number one in the country for high school graduation rate, top 20% in the country for AP performance, advanced placement performance. And this is a school in rural North Carolina. They have no textbooks. It's all Chromebooks. And they were blended learning school before the pandemic. So 5 years before the pandemic. But with that said, if it can be done in rural North Carolina, where you have an elite performing high school year after year, 100% graduation rate year after year for the past 4 years, I think we can have a champion culture in every building by doing this. So this is an elite school doing a tremendously great job. And so we have to figure out, how can we replicate this kind of culture? So with that said, let's go to the next slide. How do we replicate that culture? We have to build process over product. So we use this thing called flip.com, formerly known as Flipgrid. So inside of Flip, you can go in and you can start to capture, curate, and share the learning experiences that are happening inside of your school. So I'm going to take you guys inside. This is a static picture. So I'm going to try to take you guys inside so you can see exactly what it looks like to go inside of Flip. So let me share that with you real quick. All right, so we are inside of Flip. So this is one of the things that you can do inside of Flip. You can create a group. So I'm going to go back out to my main page. So here's my main page, and you can create a group, which you can see are all of these right here. So you have these groups, and then inside of the group, you create a topic. And so we're going to go inside of this group, and for our staff, we give the staff this code. And because this is a presentation, I'm going to change the code. I can go in and change this code because I don't want, a million people coming into our setting here. So I can change this code, but we give this code to the staff. And ahead of time, we set up each month champions of the month. And the staff members can go in, and we even have like a Black History component for the month. And teachers can go in, and if we have book studies or article studies, we throw those in there. Why do relationships matter? So that was a article study that we did, and then people were able to go in and respond to that. So now we can really see the value system, the behaviors that the teachers want in their classroom or their interaction with students. So we have these all preset. And if you have PBIS in your building, this is a great tool to help with PBIS as well. So you're building that culture and honoring kids. So we use this for our Champion of the Month to honor kids. Every teacher is charged to honor one kid for that month out of their classroom. And the criteria that we develop is kind of simple. We like to keep everything simple. Kids who show up, kids who are kind, and kids who do their work. It's that simple. Show up, be kind, and do your work. If you can do those things as a kiddo, you will get to that end of the week each week and be 1-0. So that's what we prescribe to. And if you click on the inside, you can see this is the criteria that we provide and the behaviors that we ask. And then teachers can go in and add their voice and honor those champions. And I'm going to go back out so you can see exactly what that looks like. And the other thing that we did was you can go in and create a mixtape. And we'll go into more of these details later. And I do believe the Flip, formerly known as Flipgrid Group, through Microsoft, will provide a free PD experience for all Kentucky educators coming up probably in October or November. One of those days, we'll get the dates out to you. So they will walk us through how to set everything up, and it will be just for our Kentucky educators, which will be free. I'm going to say it again, free, because that's what it's all about. How do we leverage each other's strengths? So we provide these opportunities for teachers to grow and get better. All right, so let me go in and provide you with some of the details that we'll see. All right, there we go. All right, so here's the teacher task when we talk about honoring kids. So this is what it looks like inside of Flip.
Hey, it's Mrs. Miller, and I would like to nominate Nubia as room 138 champion of the month for April. Nubia comes to school every day with a smile and a hug and completes her work and is always willing to help others complete their work. She is kind, she listens, and she always makes good choices. So Nubia, I am very proud of you and all of your growth that you have had in first grade. And I'm proud to nominate you as champion of the month for April. Thank you, Nubia.
So that's the kind of stuff that you don't see on a state report card. So how do we bring the culture out, right? Because you don't see that on a state report card. You don't see that on the NAEP assessment. You don't see that when you have town hall meetings or have general discussions about education theory, right? So this is the kind of stuff that we have to bring out. And here's the response from one of the kiddos that was a champion of the month.
Think about being a champion of the month, man.
Oh, Tiz, come here. I'm the champion. I'm the quarter today. I'm gonna be the champion.
How awesome is that, huh?
Aaron is so cool. He's a champion.
Isn't he cool though?
Oh, Chance. Tomorrow you gotta do it too. Okay? You gotta earn it. Okay? All right. I'm gonna go back to the stage.
Okay, so stuff like that. So this is the heartwarming moments where kids are so engaged in the culture that everybody understands what it's like to be a champion, what happens, why we're nominated as champions, and the excitement that it brings to kids, and the excitement it brings to the teachers to honor their kids, right? So this is the champion culture that we have to start to prescribe to and really
think about being a champion of the month.
So here's a quick look at what it looks like from the school side when they start building their champions of the month using Flip. So because Flip has a great tool where you can go in and create a QR code for every topic that you have. And so each month was a topic. And basically we just took the QR codes and you can scan each QR code for each month and it will bring up the voices of all of the teachers honoring the various scholars each month. And we have this poster that we'll share out on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram with parents, emails, put it in a newsletter for every month as we go. And that way parents can see their kids being honored, or parents can even see the kid down the street that I happen to know being honored as well. So it's really a great way to amplify the learning experience and the culture and let people know that kids belong here. They have a feeling of belonging and that we accept them as they are and try to grow them to the best that we possibly can. So the last phase that we're going to talk about is growth. So how do we really grow our kids beyond their wildest dreams and beyond the dreams that we possibly could even have for them? So this is probably one of my favorite graphs, and I'm going to blow it up for you a little bit there. There we go. So this is one of my favorite graphs. So when you think about growth and the learning culture to close the gap, everybody wants results yesterday. That's just what it is, right? But in a champion culture, people understand if we have an aligned vision, if we have clear mission and we know where we're heading and everything is on point, we are going to see growth and people believe it. So this is a quick data pull that I did from a school in Kentucky. And you can see where they started out a few years ago and how they're accelerating and closing the gap for their economically disadvantaged students. And the learning is amplifying up and up. So the trend is in the right direction. But when you have a great culture, things like this happens. And our next session, in the next video session, we're going to hear from that principal in that building that made these results happen and how she made them happen with her staff. So kudos to that team. And in order to have those kind of results, we have to start curating this stuff. So the first question is, what is curation? So when we think about curation, real quick, curation could be different things to different people, which is great. So everybody brings their independent ideas and thoughts together. Curation can bring people into your memories and moments and your experiences. Curation is about sharing what you feel in your heart and your mind, because you can't just walk around based on what's in your heart or mind and expect people to have a clear understanding about what that is unless you share it. So that is a great way to share that and people have clarity about who you are. And then we also have this art of thinking and learning. So learning is not just a methodical step-by-step thing. There's an art involved with that. So it really allows kids to be more creative in expressing themselves, and adults as well. And then allows kids to really learn in a unique way and put that learning into action. So I really think curation is the next frontier in a great school culture. So when we think about curation inside of a school, it's about this action research experience, right? So you're trying to capture, you have this theory of action. You have this theory that you have to research. So how do we capture it, curate it, and share it? So here's an example of a thing called Pick 6 that we do. So inside of Pick 6, basically, you say, hey, there's something that I want to learn, a conference that I'm attending, I want to learn something, or a book series that I'm reading, or a Capture-Curate-Share series that's provided through Kentucky Department of Education, right? So in this, you can say, hey, I'm going to go to this session, and I learned something very unique today through this culture session, and I'm going to go inside of Flip. Step number 3, I'm going to go inside of Flip, and I'm going to create a video reflection of what I learned today. And you do 6 of those, and then you curate them all into this thing called Wakelet that we spoke about. So you go to wakelet.com, put all of your Flip videos inside of Wakelet, and then you can take those items that are curated and you can submit those items for graduate credit, 1 semester hour of graduate credit. So the graduate credit becomes an extension about what you do in your learning and how you apply the learning and the action research that you're taking inside of your building to help build your culture. But when you do something like this, there's a learning effect size. So you have that 1.5 collective teacher efficacy. And when everybody's putting their videos in, and your learning experience might be different from mine, and we're in the same session, that's called jigsaw. So we're jigsawing the learning, which is a 1.2 effect size. So now we have a great effect size in our professional learning, and we can translate that to the classroom as well. So one of the things that I really love this graphic that really explains a lot. So typically in a district, we say, hey, if we have the top form right here, if we have just student learning performance data, everybody has a data wall, we're going to see results. And typically you don't. Just having a data wall and having the standard be the standard and assessing kids, that does not necessarily yield results. I think every teacher out there can tell us that, right? And then at the school level, we'll say, hey, if we have the student learning performance data coupled with the KyMTSS, that should do it. That should get us over a hump. But what it really does is it just evens us out, right? It gets us to a balancing point where we're not sinking, we're not flying high. We're just kind of balanced out there. We're just hanging there. We're getting it. We're getting our legs under us. We're there. But if we really want to hit that tipping point, we have to extend the fulcrum. We have to extend that lever on that fulcrum. So the next extension would be the action research. If we capture, curate, and share the Kentucky MTSS process in action and make real-time adjustments to it, and assess our kids' weekly, bi-weekly benchmarks, exit tickets on daily level, formative assessments, summative assessments, and we have the MTSS process in place, and we're capturing, curating, and sharing the progress and making real-time adjustments. Now we can accelerate the learning experiences for kids and the growth for kids. So what does that look like? Let's take a look. So typically, when you look at the Kentucky multi-tier system of supports, this is what teachers see. They see all of the stuff in there, really good stuff, really great stuff. But I think the consternation becomes, where do I start? Stuff seems like it's all over the place. And we have other initiatives inside of our district, inside of our building, at the state level. How do we focus on what we're supposed to do? And how do we organize this stuff? Because the hardest work that schools have to do is organize this stuff. Schools want to do the work, but it's about the organization of the work. So imagine if everything was neatly aligned like this. Everything was already organized. All you have to do is capture, curate, and share the learning experience. That's all. So imagine that, it's that simple. That's what everybody says about education, right? It's that simple. Just do these simple things and everything will be fine. Well, this is one step towards simplifying everything for you. So what does that look like? So you can go in to wakelet.com or go to the bit.ly link at the bottom. So it's bit.ly/curate with a capital C, capital K, lowercase y, capital MTSS for the multi-tier system of supports. So you can go to that link and it will take you into a Wakelet collection. Or you can scan the QR code. So if you scan the QR code and you use your device, your phone, to scan the QR code, and it opens up as an app look to it. Basically, you'll click the three little buttons at the top right-hand corner. This is my iOS. I don't know what it looks like in Android, but this is the iOS. The three little buttons up there, and then you click Copy Collection. And the question is, well, what am I copying? So let's take a look. Let's take a look at what you're going to copy. Let me hit share. And let's see here. This is what we're going to copy. All right. So that link will take you to this page. And this is what it looks like. And it has some information in there about what it is, right? But here's the crux of the work. Inside of this Wakelet collection, you will have a template, and you can copy and make this your own copy and rename it and use it. So this is just the shell, and you can just copy it, rename it, and then you can start using it. So I'm going to show you how to start using it. So inside of the collection, you'll see the 4 components of the MTSS as prescribed through Kentucky Department of Education. So here's 1, 2, let's slide over here a little bit. There we go. So you'll see the 4 components, collaborative problem solving, database decisions, evidence-based instruction, family and community. And then the last one is resources. So specific resources provided by Kentucky Department of Education. And since you have a copy, you can add your own local resources. If you have local resources that you're using in your district, in your school for your MTSS process, great, that's awesome. So now you can add those resources in here. But as you can see, these are the standard bare, gold standard resources provided by the Department of Education. And the way this works is real quick. I'll just go into one. You can come in here and you can see, so for collaborative problem solving, we have these 6 cards that gives us each component of collaborative problem solving. And I'll just scroll down like that, and you can see it. So those are the cards. And when you are doing your mission and vision work as a team, if you have your mission and vision on a PDF, you just click PDF, upload that mission and vision from your PDF and drop it in here. You can share this entire document, this entire link with family members, with other staff members, with your district, with your community. And now people can see this is what your vision is. And then the same thing for agreements and norms. If you have specific agreements and norms that you've worked on, or if you see agreements and norms in action and you want to take a picture of it inside of your building, you can add the picture right there. Agreements and norms. If you have something that you want to type out and say about agreements and norms, you can add your text right there. And then if you already have some of this stuff inside of your Google Drive, you can add those items from your Google Drive or from your OneDrive. And if you guys are tweeting out there at a meeting, you can add those tweets from that meeting into these components. And then most important, if you have a video that you would like to make that really explains this, because we say a picture is worth 1,000 words. Imagine how many words a video is worth. So if I click on video, flip video, it will open up my Flipgrid, which is now Flip. And you can create a video inside of your Wakelet collection that explains each category, each card, or provides clarification or provides evidence about how you are doing. So for instance, if we're talking about evidence-based instructional practices, what specific practices did we talk about today, this week, this month, this quarter that we are going to implement? And everybody in your learning community has an opportunity to come in here and put their video in for math, science, social studies, art, music. So you will have a collection for that quarter, for that semester, for that year. So imagine how rich this portfolio of action will be when you are complete. So you have access to this. Every teacher in the state of Kentucky will have access to make their own copy. Just create your Wakelet account and go to that link, and you should be all set to go. So let's switch back out. There we go. Once again, here is the link, and there's the QR code for you all to engage in. And I really want to wrap this up and thank everybody who's been out there listening. You can show this recording to your staff members. This can be part of your PLC. This can be part of your staff meeting. This can go out to your community as part of your newsletter. Whatever medium that you would like to share this in and people that you want to communicate this with, it's totally up to y'all. But I really think that there are great learning opportunities happening in the state of Kentucky. And if you notice, the picture on here as my final goodbye for this session is a QR code of Capture-Curate-Share. And what I did was I captured the true Kentucky experience that I was looking forward to with different videos, different links, different places to go visit, to go hike, Kentucky Derby, all the great stuff that happens in the state of Kentucky that I want to experience. I put it into a Wakelet collection. So you can scan that QR code and see my collection of my experience. So stay tuned. And we have one of our dynamic principals from Kentucky coming up fairly soon. Thank you very much. See you guys soon. Check the next link.